So let's talk about South Africans who will be paying much higher for petrol and diesel prices from Wednesday this week, just as the country's load shedding by the utility giant Eskom is getting worse. In the meantime, an analyst's forecast says South Africa's economy is at the risk of a recession and a downgrade in a few months' time if the current power outages are not addressed. Let's go down now to Johannesburg for the latest and some insights with Chris Hart, the executive chairman at Impact Investment Africa. Chris, thank you very much for stopping by and making this connection to the studios. We understand we caught up with you somewhere on the road. So what is the latest on Eskom's load shedding at level 6 right now?
Well, effectively, this is why I'm not at home, because we've got load shedding at home, and I needed to charge my battery for this particular interview. So I'm sitting outdoor. We may well have, it's been quite quiet, but I'm sure as we speak, the helicopter will come and the motorbikes will pass and all the rest of it. But it has been something, quite an eye-opener from a disruption point of view. There's two big shocks occurring to the economy right now. They're actually very big shocks. The first shock is the load shedding. The load shedding is something that we really haven't seen the level of load shedding at this stage. The whole 10, 12 years that we've been struggling under load shedding, this really has been the very, very worst period we've had. We've never had, I think we had a brief foray to stage 6 late last year. We've never been sort of, you could say, camped in loads at stage 6. It means that from a point of view, especially for your small businesses and your households, is where the main brunt of this occurs. A lot of the larger shopping centres and larger businesses are able to afford fairly substantial generators and have been able to cross that to a certain extent. But South Africa is not really prepared for this kind of power outages, and it's going to have quite a negative effect, certainly on the second quarter economic growth, and probably push through into the third quarter economic growth. And that's where the risk of the recession, as defined as two consecutive quarters of negative growth, is quite possible. The second big shock to the economy has been, in fact, fuel prices. So it's all energy related. The fuel prices were much lower at the beginning of the year. The actual rise has been fairly rapid. That's been really across the world. So we are seeing the possibility of not just a recession in South Africa. Certainly high oil prices will lead to a slower global economy. If nothing else, even if the global economy doesn't go into recession, it still means that towards the end of the year, the third shock will hit us, and that may well be lower commodity prices. And at the same time, because of these fuel prices, etc., we are seeing higher inflation, and the Reserve Bank now, to deal with inflation, has had to raise interest rates in the face of a slowing economy that is facing quite severe shocks from other prices. So we're going to see the high cost of money at the same time. And that's basically where the difficulty that we find ourselves in.
So, Chris, on the back of the load shedding by Eskom and the wage negotiations going on with the staff, here we are with petrol and diesel prices will be climbing higher on Wednesday as the government throws out fuel subsidy. How tough do you think this will be from Wednesday moving forward?
Well, already fuel prices are at extremely painful levels for South Africans, and this is just going to add to the pain, and it's going to help tip South Africa into recession because of that. It basically reduces the buying power of South Africans. What they have to spend more on filling up will be compromised because earnings are not strong. We haven't seen the full rebound of personal earnings and even corporate profits, following the COVID restrictions that the economy has been facing. And of course, South Africa kept the restrictions on for the longest, one of the longest periods that we had the restrictions on. It does mean from an unemployment point of view, we are already at catastrophic levels. And I would think over the next few months, we will see a further rise in unemployment because this is hitting the small business sector the hardest. And we're seeing this even in the shopping centres, even in the wealthiest shopping centres. You are seeing shop closures. And as I say, I would suggest from an anecdotal point of view, at a record rate. And it's not constructive at the moment. South Africa really is under severe pain at the moment, and we hope that that at least something will ease. This has certainly been a perfect storm as far as the economy is concerned in 2022.
What about the latest PMI slipping to 52.2 reading in the month of June? Unpack that for me. What does that mean? Considering the fact that we saw some positive numbers in terms of the Q1 GDP, in terms of the manufacturing and industrial sector, things beginning to slow down again on the back of the power outages and now the increase in fuel prices, in which, as you talk about, as you mentioned, stores are beginning to pay more for diesel to make sure they remain in business.
Yeah, well, I know even in our own case, our office complex has a generator. The cost of diesel in this last month has just been phenomenal, just in terms of what it's added to the rental costs just at that place. And that, of course, is replicated. In terms of the PMI, sliding to 52, unfortunately, fortunately, it's still above 50. Above 50 still is indicating some growth. But it does look like in July, August, we may well see this PMI slip to below the 50 mark. The main brunt of the stage 6 load shedding occurred towards the end of June, beginning of this July. And I think from that point of view, you'll probably see the July number slipping below 50%. It's very difficult to grow a modern economy without power. And we have seen this. I know we speak about recession, but ultimately, if you take the last 10 years, South Africa could probably be described as being in depression, where economic growth has really not risen above population growth rate. It means that the GDP per capita, the output per capita, has been declining over the last 10 years with rising unemployment, and very high unemployment does suggest that the economy is probably better described as being in depression, with, as I say, cyclical changes through that period. But there's nothing on the horizon to suggest that we're going to turn the corner. And it is having effect politically, but hopefully we do see some renaissance there to see an improvement.
Okay, we've got to let you go at this point. Thank you so much for making the stop by for this exchange. Thank you so much, Chris Hart at Impact Investment Africa. Have a wonderful evening and get home safe, please. Thank you.